Hi. Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. In the year 1899, in an alternate reality, a terrorist group has created the first ever tank and uses it to break into the Bank of England. The death machine rolls up to the vault door and blows it from the hinges, opening to reveal soldiers possessing the first automatic weapons, and being led by the Phantom, a criminal who has come to steal blueprints to the city of Venice's foundations. The Phantom pulls the same crap in Germany, kidnapping scientists and blowing up their zeppelins in order to cause turmoil between Germany and England, leading all of Europe to the brink of war. An emissary of the British government is sent to a colony in Africa to recruit a famous hero. Sanderson Reed gains a meeting with the adventurer Allan Quatermain, who tries to regale the messenger of his ventures in King Solomon's mines but gets cut off. Reed tells him that the Empire needs his help, so Allan reveals his actual self, having used his friend to keep the storytellers at bay. Reed claims to be trying to prevent the First World War, and has heard stories of the great Allan Quatermain throughout his whole childhood. But Allan refuses the offer, since England is always on the brink of war and he is not the same man he once was. Some strangers come in asking for Allan as per the usual, but assassinate his friend when he claims to be him.
Wrong Quatermain!
Allan headshots the shooter and a fight kicks off, but the assassins have the same modern guns and armor and begin to fight back. Some of the weapons begin to jam, and with help from the locals the grizzled vet eventually defeats them. The last one tries to run away and gets pretty far, but not far enough as Allan pulls Matilda out and leg shots him. But before he can interrogate the assassin he consumes some poison, killing himself, and Allan's favorite drinking spot is blown to smithereens. With the war in Europe having now reached Africa, Allan accepts the offer to join the team. Allan travels to England and meets up with Reed, who takes him to meet a mysterious man going by the name of M. The stranger reveals that he is reforming a team called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to combat the Phantom. Allan is introduced to the first member of the team, Captain Nemo, who is in charge of getting them to a meeting of world leaders in Venice in 4 days, as they suspect that is where the terrorists plan to attack next. They tell Allan that the Phantom's aim of starting a world war is to sell his advanced weapons to the highest bidder, having used his kidnapped scientists to make them. M introduces some other members of the League to Allan, including an invisible gentleman thief named Skinner, who created a serum to help his stealing but hasn't found a cure, and a widow named Mina Harker, who M introduces as just a well-regarded chemical scientist, saying that she was given abilities after a run-in with a former member of the team. After the meeting, the League take Nemo's newly created automobile driven by first mate Ishmael to the East London docks, while being stalked by a stranger. Tension rises as Allan doesn't feel this the place for a woman, having buried 2 wives and countless lovers. Arriving at the docks, the League meet with a Dorian Gray, who initially refuses the offer but accepts when seeing his former lover with the group. Quatermain tells them that a witch doctor declared that Africa will never let him die after he saved his village, though he ain't in Africa. Allan says he remembers Gray from when he was just a little boy, but Gray hasn't aged. Out of nowhere, the Phantom and his men ambush the League, trapping them from all angles except for one man, who has been replaced with the stalker from earlier. The American Secret Service agent kicks the room off into a blazing gunfight. They all arm up and fight back, showcasing their skills, with Dorian walking through the gunfire carelessly before getting lit up by one of the men, revealing him to be immortal. The Phantom runs in terror from the more powerful enemy and loses both Quatermain and the American, escaping into the river. The League all gather in the hall after the fight, but a surviving terrorist takes Mina hostage, causing the team to back down. With no fear at all, though, Mina spins around and bites into his neck, draining him dry while the League watch on, impressed. After dinner, the American introduces himself as Tom Sawyer, showing that the whole world is now aware of the impending doom. Dorian and Mina bicker about letting Tom join the League as they are completely full with 6, but Allan, liking the look of his gun, says he's in.
You're in.
They head out to the dock where Mina tells them that her husband hunted Dracula with Van Helsing when she was bitten and turned. Nemo announces the arrival of their vehicle, a massive submarine called the Nautilus that comes bursting from the water.
Sword of the ocean.
The League head to Paris to hunt down their final recruit, Dr. Jekyll, who is currently in his Mr. Hyde state, running around rooftops terrorizing the city. Quatermain lures him onto a specific roof and shoots out the guttering, sending the beast crashing down onto a net below, trapping Hyde inside and dragging him through the streets, all the way back to the Nautilus. Hyde begins to tear the sub apart from the inside, being felt by everyone else on board. A chained-up Hyde throws Nemo's men around the place but is offered a deal by Allan, his pardon to return to England if he helps them deal with the Phantom. In response, Hyde accepts, and returns to his original personality, Dr. Jekyll, in a very slow and painful transformation. With the League now complete, Nemo sets course for Venice to stop the Phantom from attacking the world leaders' meeting. Quatermain reveals to Sawyer that he accepted a mission from England a while back and brought his son along for the ride. His son died warm in his arms while he washed his hands of England forever. Allan then teaches Sawyer how to accurately shoot, none of this spray and pray crap, advising Sawyer to take his time before pulling the trigger. The crew begin to all suspect Skinner as a spy since he has been AWOL for a while, and Dr. Jekyll listens in on Gray telling Mina his origin story, how all his aging and damage transfers to a self-portrait, and that he can never look upon it himself. Dr. Jekyll wrestles with himself trying not to take the serum, having become addicted, giving worry to the captain of the vessel. But he returns back to his cabin to find a vial of the transformation juices missing. Suspecting that Skinner stole his potion like all the other problems going on, he alerts the rest of the League. The Nautilus arrives at Venice where the explosives have already been laid, and sails up the narrow canals until it can go no further. Nemo's army and divers disembark to search for the explosives, but the bombs beneath the festival begin to explode. The buildings begin tumbling down like dominoes, so Nemo suggests firing a rocket at one ahead of the others to stop the domino effect, but without eyes on a target they have nowhere to fire. Sawyer takes Nemo's automobile and Allan, Gray, and Mina all jump in. As they are speeding along, the Phantom's men begin shooting at them from the rooftop, so Dorian bails. When Sawyer and Allan's bullets continue to do nothing to the sheer number of enemies, Mina turns into a bunch of bats to cover the car, swarming the soldiers as the vampire drinks her fill. Quatermain spots the Phantom as they drive past and leaves Sawyer to set the flare off himself. Tom eventually comes up on the right building and shoots the flare off before crashing into it, allowing Nemo to fire a rocket at the correct coordinates, which drops down directly onto Sawyer's location, and the domino effect reaches an empty patch. Successfully saving the Venetian people, Allan corners the Phantom in a locked graveyard and reveals that they know about his spy Skinner. Though the real traitor is revealed to be Gray, when he shoots poor Ishmael with a golden gun. The cornered Phantom leaps at Allan and stabs him in the chest, but is whacked in the face, causing his mask to fall off, revealing the Phantom to be M, the very man recruiting the League in the first place. He immediately runs away from the better fighter, but not before Allan gives him his knife back. As the League meet back up at the Nautilus, Ishmael with his last dying breath tells them of Gray's treachery, before they spot him escaping in one of their exploration pods. The League plan to track the pod and catch up to Gray, but find a recording, explaining his true intentions, having united the League in order to get a sample of each one of them to recreate their powers, combining them to make an army of the most powerful human weapons ever made. Quatermain was hired to hunt down Hyde since no one could catch him, while Nemo had his science stolen, Skinner's skin, Dr. Jekyll's serum, and Mina's blood. M's final declaration is that the Nautilus is set to explode at the end of the recording, which it does, causing water to flood the lower levels. The Nautilus must return to the surface but is taking on too much water, so Dr. Jekyll volunteers to send Mr. Hyde in to open a release valve. He jumps into the raging water and drinks one of his potions, turning himself into Hyde in an equally painful-looking transformation. He swims down to the bottom and uses his strength to switch levers, opening the valves to drain the Nautilus's compartment, allowing Nemo to resurface. As everything settles, they receive a message from Skinner in Morse code, having managed to sneak inside the exploration pod. They follow his directions, leading them to M's secret lair, eventually arriving to find a massive factory working tirelessly night and day to recreate Nemo's inventions. Skinner shows up and gropes Mina, before telling them that the kidnapped scientists are forced to work on creating a new version of the League. Invisible spies, an army of Hydes, vampire assassins, all with the plan on selling them to warring countries. The League all decide on their roles before taking out some guards and silently entering the factory. Nemo's army joins them and they split up, with Allan and Tom searching for M and seeing that the shipments of weapons are ready to move out. Skinner places explosives around the furnaces of the factory unseen, while Nemo frees the families of the scientists but is spotted by a guard. Nemo's army is then ambushed by soldiers with full-body armor, requiring Hyde to use a massive metal door to shield them, deflecting the bullets back at them long enough for Nemo, using just his sword, to defeat all the soldiers guarding the scientists. Mina confronts her treacherous former lover Gray, where the two slash at each other's faces, but since they are immortal their wounds instantly heal.
We'll be at this all day.
They exchange blows back and forth until eventually Gray's cursed painting catches her attention, distracting her enough for Dorian to run her through. But missing her heart, Mina rises up and stabs him back, nailing him to the wall and trapping him. She takes out his painting and lets him face himself, causing him to age rapidly and dissolve away. Quatermain and Sawyer sneak into M's office and witness a man hand over a care package of all the extraordinary samples, before another warns him of the intruders. When he's alone, Allan and Tom make their move on the Phantom. but a soldier comes up behind them, giving M time to escape with the samples. While chasing after him, an invisible man bumps into Sawyer. Assuming it's Skinner, Allan continues after M, but the invisible soldier pulls out a knife and begins attacking Tom. He uses his gun to defend against the attacker, but another soldier with metal armor shows up, throwing flames at Sawyer while he flees for his life. Just before Sawyer is burned alive, Skinner shows up and stabs the soldier's tank, getting himself set on fire but allowing Tom time to kill the pyro. Sawyer finds him suffering in pain in the corner, but gets taken hostage by the other invisible man. Quatermain catches up to M and they begin to fight, with Allan eventually knocking M to the ground with a punch and picking up an axe to finish him off. Back downstairs, one of the terrorists picks up a flask and drinks a massive dose of Hyde's potion, causing him to hulk out into a giant muscle monster thrice his size. The mass of a man greatly overpowers the now puny Hyde as Nemo watches on, and when he gets the chance, Nemo attempts to help by rigorously slashing at it, but is just knocked away. When all hope seems lost, the two run away into a narrow passage as the serum wears off. Smashing his way through the tiny gap, the monster is about to kill them, in sync with Allan, when Skinner's dynamite explodes, blowing a hole for the two to escape while the structure comes down on top of the Super Hyde. Now with his gun on the Phantom and about to kill him, Allan sees the invisible man with Sawyer as a hostage and chooses to shoot him, allowing M to stab him in the back and once again escape with his box of DNA. Unable to follow him and with Allan's glasses broken, Sawyer is forced to take up a rifle and make a long-distance shot. As M approaches the exploration pod expecting to be home free, Sawyer takes the shot, hitting M in the back and killing him instantly, with the box of the League's DNA falling into the ocean.
I got him!
Sawyer celebrates the shot but sees Quatermain bleeding out, declaring that the new century belongs to Tom, and dies. Back in Africa, Sawyer and the rest of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen attend Quatermain's burial, where Nemo invites them all to join him on his adventures. Sawyer puts his rifle on Quatermain's grave and leaves with the rest, when a witch doctor approaches the grave. He begins chanting and doing a ritual since Africa will never let Allan die. And the movie ends.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.
I've been waiting all week to do that.
Get a grip, man.
Well, I thought I just did.